Good morning. Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Wilmington, Delaware. I am Dan Chikala, and I'm delighted to serve for the first time as your worship associate. Oh, thank you. Hello to everyone, both here in the congregation. Hi, all. And then if we could give a hearty hello to the camera, to everyone watching us from home. We love you guys. Keep waving, keep waving. There we go. And I wanted to give a special greeting to the new faces. Both the members we're officially welcoming today, and to anyone just here to give us a little try. So let's take a minute to greet our neighbors. We pride ourselves on being a little different, don't we? If you ask people why they joined the church, they'll often tell you that it's because of the things that we're not. You know, we're not judgy, we're not hierarchical, we're not dogmatic. And I get it, I was raised Catholic, and so many of the reasons why I'm part of this church is because it is not Catholic. But today, especially as we welcome in new members, it's great to get our footing and focus on who we are. So that's what we'll be doing today. So let's prepare our hearts and minds for worship.
So the children that are going to help me with the instruments, if you'll stay up here. So I'm the Reverend Larry Piers, minister at First Unitarian Church of Wilmington. And I am excited today. I'm hoping I won't elevate off the floor, but I'm excited about so many things. I'm excited to have Dan as our new worship associate. I'm excited about welcoming our new members. And if you did not pick up an order of service, in the insert is a list of their names and some photos and some short bios, so you can have a chance to meet with them. And let's see, what else? Oh, during the first hymn, some of our members did not have a chance, new members did not have a chance to sign the membership book. So if you'll join me at the table up front, if you didn't get a chance to actually sign the membership book, join me during the first hymn, and we'll do that then. Okay? Now, our call to worship. Ready? Okay. The way to start a day is to go outside and face the east and greet the sun with some kind of blessing or chant or song that you made yourself, and keep it for early morning. The way to make the song is this. Don't try to think what words to use until you are standing there alone. When you feel the sun, you will feel the song too. Just sing it. But don't think you're the only one who ever worked that magic. A morning needs to be sung to. A new day needs to be honored. People have always known that. Didn't they chant at dawn at the sun, temples of Peru, and leap and sway to Aztec flutes in Mexico? And drum sunrise songs in Congo? And ring 1,000 small gold bells in China? Great, thank you. Didn't the pharaohs of Egypt say that the only sound at dawn should be the sound of songs that please the morning sun? They knew what songs to sing. People always seemed to know, and everywhere people seemed to know what gifts the sun wanted. Let us join together now in worship.
At this time, I'd like to welcome a couple of very special people to me to the front to light the chalice. And if you have a chalice at home, you can join me in lighting to these words from The Day Unwritten by Reverend Dr. David Breeden. Welcome to a new story. Welcome to a day unwritten. We gather to speak of possibility. We remember the losses. We celebrate the victories. We embrace the possible over the probable, weaving a story of hope. Join us in the new story. Join us in the day unwritten. Join us in the future of possibility. Now stand as you are willing and able, and remain standing after for the unison affirmation as we sing hymn 1024, When the Spirit Says Do.
sing. You've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 You've got to dance when the Spirit says dance. You've got to dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you've got to dance, Lord. You've got to dance when the Spirit says dance. 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 You've got to shout. Spirit says shout. You've got to shout. The Spirit says shout. When the Spirit says shout, you've got to shout. You've got to shout. When the Spirit says shout. 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 You got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do. Oh Lord, you got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 Do it again. You got to do when the Spirit says do. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you've got to do. Oh Lord, you've got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 When the Spirit says do.
Please remain standing as we affirm our mission. First Unitarian Church of Wilmington is a beloved community that nourishes minds and spirits, fights injustice, and transforms the world through loving action.
So this morning, we're particularly excited about officially welcoming the newest members of the First Unitarian Church of Wilmington. Joining me in this official welcome is Catherine Williamson, our Director of Children and Youth Religious Exploration, Maureen Sandberg, who is one of our co-presidents, and Marilyn Height of our membership team. Marilyn will momentarily be calling the names of our new members. When she does so, those new members should come forward. Those of you who are in the sanctuary have received an insert in the order of service that tells you briefly about each of our new members. Please join us in the reception following this service. In the days ahead, please take time to also connect with our new members and introduce them to the life and the ministry of this congregation. Marilyn from our membership and engagement team will read the names while each person steps forward and stands in front of the dais, kind of right in here, facing the congregation. As each name is called, I've asked some of our members, this is your cue, Jackie and Ruth, to add a flower to this vase. We want to honor the roots of this congregation, founded in 1866 by an intrepid group of people who wanted to bring the message of a liberal approach to religion and a Unitarian congregation to this area. Over the years, the perspective of this congregation have broadened into a congregation that draws from the sources of many religions, literary, artistic, and scientific perspectives as well. Yet, we are connected to the courage and the vision of our ancestors and all of the lay and clergy who have served us over the years. May we endeavor to embody our guiding Unitarian Universalist principles into practices that transform our lives and the life of our society. Marilyn.
Thank you, Reverend Larry. Good morning, everybody. It's my honor on behalf of all of you in the congregation to welcome our new members. As I say your name, please come forward. Excuse me. The first is Beverly Payton, Sharon Kong, Allison Solomon, Carol Farrell, I apologize for my voice, Tom Haldeman, Dave Coomber, Jeff Burton Wickstrom, Emily Burton Wickstrom. I know their kids are with them. If their kids would like to come forward as well, they're welcome. Megan Lewis, Jacqueline Aguirre, David Moore, and Gabe Vietsky, if I'm pronouncing your name right, and George Sadal. And I'm in the way.
That's fine. Come right in here.
Rowan,
Okay.
you guys can come up front.
Okay. Great. Welcome. So, welcome to each of you. Today, we invite you into this beloved community to enrich us with your experiences, your perspectives, and your gifts. You enrich us. The vase of flowers symbolizes that each of you adds to the beauty of what First Unitarian Church of Wilmington is and what the First Unitarian Church of Wilmington will become. So I welcome you.
I want to acknowledge those among our new members who are also parents, who as a family are joining our congregation. We would like to support you in your role as the resident religious educators in your home. May you, your children, and youth find a home here to grow your souls and deepen your connection to our faith community.
May the members of First Unitarian Church of Wilmington stand as you are willing and able to join by offering the welcoming words that you will find on the screen.
Nice and close. Closer.
Great. And Maureen will lead you.
Please join me in these words. We welcome,
Welcome
you
you
as we once welcomed ourselves.
Congregation of this faith and of our shared spiritual journey.
In times, I'm sorry, let's start again.
In times
In times when it is easy and in times when it is difficult, we
seek to be supportive,
not
Only when you reach out in courage to us, but also when you need us to reach out to you. We welcome you as an equal member of this congregation, of this faith, and of our shared spiritual journey.
So we're going to welcome you, and Marilyn has a gift of a flaming chalice pin that she'll give to each person. And I'll help with that, Marilyn.
You can see we practice this really well.
So welcome, George. Welcome. Here,
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We have lots of them. Who do you think it is?
These are, do we have enough for them?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We each get one. That's pretty cool. I know you've had under practice.
Does everyone have a pen? Okay, well,
Now we will sing our children out to their religious exploration groups. Please join in singing hymn number 402, From You I Received. The words will appear on the screen, and if the children will please wait at the door for me.
thank you. Let's give the new members a hand first.
Share, and by this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
You can't tell from where you are, but I'm actually elevated. I'm so excited about this moment that we get to share occasionally as we invite new members into our midst, and I'll say more about that during the sermon. But let's join now in a time of prayerful meditation, and I'll use the words from the song that we just sung together as a way to focus some of our thinking. From you I receive. Let's take a moment now and reflect on all of those from whom we receive. We are an intersection of many lives. Many lives create the life that we are. Let's truly appreciate with gratitude all of those whom we receive from. To thee I give. Let's think of all the ways in which we show up to give to the world, to give to others, to be a presence of love in the life of others. And let's think about those ways. By receiving and by giving, we become part of the blessing of what the world provides for us and that we can be part of. Abraham Joshua Heschel said, "Be a blessing." So let's remind ourselves each day that that is what we are called to be and to become, to be a blessing. And now as we gather in a shared silence, let's pay attention to what it is that we are holding in our own heart, whatever is weighing us down at this moment, weighing us down because we care about something or someone. Could be a care or concern that we have for ourselves, for another, or for our wider world. So during the silence, let's take a moment to listen attentively to what our heart is holding on this day. Of course, we are concerned about all of those who are impacted by the fires that are currently occurring in California. As far as I know, our Unitarian churches in Pasadena are okay, but many of their members have lost their homes, or some of their members, I should say. I don't know if I should say many, but several have lost their homes. You'll hear more from us as we have an opportunity to gather information about how we might provide some kind of emergency response, but we're still waiting to hear what's needed. So what other concerns are you holding on this day? And I'll start over here in this section that you would like to articulate in this room, or if you're joining us online, you can write it in the chat. Helen Foss, yeah, who's in the hospital. Okay. In this section. Sorry, start here. Hostages.
The homeless. Boys and young men. Randy, who's hopefully will find the path.
LA firefighters. Undermining of LGBTQ people.
Andrew, still safe in LA?
Thankfully, yes.
Okay, all right. How about here? Hmm. So let us take time in this moment to hold the grief, the sorrow, the concern that we have. Just hold it a little longer, not brush it aside too quickly, so that we can feel a sense of empathy for those in our world who need more care, more compassion, need to feel some sense of being held by love. So let's take a moment now to just experience that concern, that grief, that sorrow. Maybe there's also a joy that is arriving in your own heart unannounced, that wants to be expressed in some way, that maybe you didn't even know it was there until you turned to your heart and you asked, what joy abides with me in this moment? Any joys that you'd like to express? Members. Lovely. Any other joys?
No.
The children's choir, absolutely. Yes. So let joy do its work within us and among us, to allow us to look above whatever might weigh us down, to know that both can exist simultaneously, sorrow and joy, concern and exhilaration, and that both weave together a community that cares, that is present to one another, and it is present to the presence of love. May all whose names were spoken and those unspoken find peace and healing this day as we join together now in our meditation song, Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me.
Unitarian Universalism is a living tradition that has changed in many ways from the original Christian roots of its Universalist and Unitarian heritages, and it continues to evolve today. Most recently, in June 2024, this evolution has taken the form of adopting new language to describe who we are as UUs. As Unitarian Universalists, we draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Inseparable from one another, these shared values are interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence and acknowledge our place in it. Pluralism. We are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. Justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all feel welcome and can thrive. Transformation. We adapt to the changing world. Generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. Equity. We declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion.
Thank you, Dan. Some of you will recognize right away that my sermon title, What's Unitarian Universalism Got to Do with It?, resonates with the title of a song by Tina Turner, What's Love Got to Do with It? Although tempted to do my impersonation of Tina Turner in song and dance, my only inhibition is the short skirt. You see, I tend to wear long skirts when I'm with you. So I'll share one verse from the song, and you can imagine Tina Turner expressing these words through dance and song. Oh, oh, what's love got to do with it? What's love but a second-hand emotion? What's love got to do with it? Who needs a heart when a heart can be broken? In the song, the singer is trying to convince their partner to push their hearts and love aside because they know that love can be risky. They try to convince themselves, in the words of the song, it's physical, only logical. You must try to ignore that it means more than that. And then for 6 verses, those same words, what's love got to do with it, are repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated. The question is repeated so often in the song so that the listener is left with the question unanswered, but still resounding within the beat of the song, and maybe even the beat of their heart. What's love got to do with it? Got to do with it. In the new articulation of our Unitarian Universalist values, voted at the General Assembly in June 2024, that Dan just read this morning, there is that statement, love is the power that holds us together and at the center of our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. With those who drafted this statement, when those that drafted the statement realized that love wasn't explicitly highlighted in our previous statement called our UU principles, perhaps they too asked, well, what's love got to do with Unitarian Universalism? They responded by realizing that much of our tradition, especially our Universalist heritage, was about love. Early on, Universalists imagined this love as a loving God that would never condemn anyone to hell. Later on, Universalists worked to bring more tangible love into this world through their work for social, economic reforms and justice for those who were marginalized and oppressed. Let's face it, This new statement of the Unitarian Universalist values is somewhat clumsy to remember for those of us who remember so easily the 7 principles. To help, a visual aid like a flower with each of the values written on a petal and love at the center of the flower tries to make the point about the interrelatedness of the values with still love at the center. What I can easily recall is the phrase, love is the center of all that we do. Indeed, this declaration has resonance in our history and our theological heritage. I realize it testifies to where Unitarian Universalists have and will continue to put their energy, particularly at times when division and derision threaten to be institutionalized in attitudes and laws all around us. It's a good touchstone to be able to remind ourselves that love is at the center of all we do. Love is the impulse behind much of what we do. Yet love is at the center of all we do also represents somewhat of a shift in the storyline that Unitarian Universalists have tended to tell about ourselves over the years. We have tended to distinguish ourselves through our free thought, our use of reason, our ideas, all of which seem to make us seem like only a cerebral group or a heady group that does good things in the world. Honestly, I think all of those things, our use of reason, free thought, including people who are committed to love, encompasses who it is that we are. How important love is to our way of being human religiously comes forth for me more in the stories that I can tell about my first engagement and my continuous involvement with Unitarian Universalism. Perhaps this will be the case for most of you as well. The liberating ideas of Unitarian Universalists may have lured many of us from whatever perspectives may have once constrained us. But it may be that the love that we find and the loving world that we struggle to create is what keeps us engaged in the ways that our ennobling thoughts alone could never do. So I'll reflect a little bit on my story. What I remember most about the very first Unitarian Universalist congregation in Sarasota, Florida, that I started to attend as a 17-year-old was their library. It was easy to access. It was right in the parish hall, right as you left the sanctuary. There, I got an immediate visual testimony to the various sources of truth that Unitarian Universalists drew from. There were books from science, many of the world's religious traditions, psychology, literature, biographies, and art. I knew I had entered a new territory not constrained by some of the singular faith focus of my childhood and early adolescence. It's not that I am or ever was a bookworm. But the books on the shelves did draw me in as a very shy 17-year-old in a sea of older adults who were more engaged with each other and with the coffee. Yet, my first spiritual guide to Unitarian Universalism was a woman who was a volunteer librarian, Jane. Her interactions with me reinforced for me the idea that this path to the spiritual not only allowed questions, but encouraged them. And as a 17-year-old who had some very good life reasons to be seeking some new bearings in my life beyond just the religion I had inherited, it was reassuring to have this wide expanse of resources to choose from and to also have a companion in that church volunteer. Jane listened intently to my ramblings and my occasional articulate question. As I expressed what was on the top of my mind in our interactions, she also provided a welcoming space for me to ponder and to express what was on my heart as well. Retrospectively, I realized that Jane embodied for me what I imagined that all Unitarian Universalists were like: inquisitive, always learning, dedicated to growth throughout their lives, and open to many avenues of seeking and understanding what was true and worthy of their devotion. It was a blessing. I realize retrospectively that someone like Jane was available to receive me as an inquisitive and searching adolescent who was some decades younger than her. The idea of Unitarian Universalism captured my mind, but it was the qualities of our interactions that bonded me to Unitarian Universalism. You might say that it was her tangible, loving presence that caught me. Her name was Jane Smiley. Interestingly enough, about 4 years later, after my first encounters with her, I coincidentally had a directed study in the developmental psychology of Jean Piaget with her son, who is a professor at New College in Sarasota, David Smiley. That was just coincidence, but I emphasize the qualities of the interaction I had with Jane Smiley because I recognize that without her willingness to engage with me, Unitarian Universalism would have been a nice set of intriguing ideas. Do you hear what I'm saying? But it was the process of that creative interchange between us that captured my mind and my heart. It was her willingness to linger in the conversations, to follow the interplay of ideas and experiences, to see what they might reveal to us in the moment. Sometimes these ideas or these perspectives were risky. Sometimes they were transformative. It was this creative interchange that embodies for me a way of being human religiously that I've sought in my personal life and tried as best as I could to embody in my ministry. It's not just about espousing ideas about the free and the responsible search for truth and meaning. If we don't also embody this as a practice, could I hear an amen? I suspect that if it wasn't for that formative experience with Jane and a few other experiences that have caused me to dedicate much of my ministry to creating explicit opportunities for learning and for conversation in the congregation and other organizations that I've served, I would not even be standing here in front of you. Underlying all of this is the direct experience of what Unitarian theologian Henry Nelson Wyman called creative interchange. He described it this way: creative interchange refers to a process where individuals engage in open, respectful dialogue, sharing diverse perspectives and experiences with the goal of collectively creating new understanding and meaning. Essentially, fostering a deeper connection and love through shared growth and mutual learning. It's about valuing the creative potential that arises when different viewpoints intersect constructively. I know that's a lot to take in, but perhaps you can get a sense of how this is different than some of our typical rushed conversations with one another. It's a devotion and a practice to really have that kind of interchange where something new and transformative might arrive in each person in the process that it's pointing to. So Wyman viewed God as a dynamic creative process, and thus creative interchange is not just about reaching a consensus, but about the ongoing process of interacting with others to evolve and to grow together. For Wyman, this kind of creative interchange is an act of actively listening and engaging with others to create new insights. For Wyman, it is a form of loving. This way of love is described as creative interchange often seems very lacking in our world at large. And so it makes sense for me that Unitarian Universalists engage in and cultivate this tangible practice of love in our interactions and our opportunities with one another. And like love, this way of being that I've described is risky. It takes us often to the edge of what we already know and towards that which wants to be revealed to us in this moment, at this stage of our life, at this unfolding, this particular unfolding of our spiritual life. I realized much later that it was that kind of creative interchange that Jane Smiley invited me into, that embodied for me a Unitarian Universalism that could not just believe, that not just to believe it, but to experience it. Creative interchange as a way of love is risky. It's not always easy. It requires honesty, just like love. Those who try to represent Unitarian Universalism as a Bud Light or religion light kind of approach may miss this critical point of how difficult it really is. Sure, many of us as Unitarian Universalists can sometimes fall in the pattern of letting the paint dry too quickly on the canvas of our conversations before we fully explored the creativity that wants to break forth in us. Sure, Unitarian Universalists too get caught up in snap responses to who we are that actually really don't describe us fully. Sure, Unitarian Universalists too get caught up in generalizations that don't provide all the nuances about our history, our heritage, or the depth and the breadth of our religious thinking and feeling. Sure, some Unitarian Universalists have not uploaded an understanding of who we are today and not who we were when you first entered the doors of a Unitarian Universalist congregation some decades ago. Today, we are not all atheists. Some of us have hard-won and thought-out perspectives on what God, the holy, or the sacred could mean to us, and we don't mind expressing it. Today, we're not all come-outers from another religious background. Some of us have had no religious background at all. And we are seeking something to satisfy our yearnings for something spiritual or something deeper in meaning than our social media presence. Today, some of us keep aspects of our religious roots or adopted traditions, Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, earth-centered tradition, even as we find a place within Unitarian Universalism. Today, we recognize that our efforts at social justice are central, but that they don't fully define us, since we seek some spiritual grounding to anchor us through the inescapable disappointments we might experience and the courage we might need to cultivate within and among us in order to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly. Our creative interchange approach to religion isn't satisfied with pat answers, routine declarations, or diminishments of other religions. Our creative interchange approach to religion engages differences with understanding and is not conveyed by religious arrogance or righteousness, even of the liberal kind. However clumsily or inaccurately we may express who we are, I believe you can determine that you're in the presence of a real Unitarian Universalist. Everybody should lean in now for this great revelation. You're in the presence of a real Unitarian Universalist if they linger in the conversation with you, if they listen, if in the process of engagement you and they have discovered something new that lights a spark within you. How we embody who we are is more revealing than what we say about who we are. One Unitarian Universalist parent tells of this interaction with his son. He says, it was 1980. I'd been a Unitarian Universalist for about 2 years when my 7-year-old son, Eric, came to me and said, "Dad, what happens to us after we die? Is there a heaven?" "Well," the father says, I'm doing my father voice. "Well, some people believe that after we die, we go to heaven where we live forever," I replied. "And other people believe that when we die, our life is over and we live on through the memories of people who have known and loved us." "What do you believe?" asked Eric. "Well, some people believe that after we die, we go to heaven. And other people believe." "But what do you believe?" asked Eric. "Okay," I said. "I believe that when we die, we live on through other people, but not in a heaven." Eric took this in and responded with words I will never forget, said the author. "I'll believe what you believe," said Eric, "for now. And when I grow up, I'll make up my own mind." In my estimation, this child was the real teacher and demonstrates in a real-life example what our approach to ongoing religious becoming is about. We are enriched, and when we are open, we are transformed by our willingness to be humble, to listen deeply, and to be informed not just by our own predispositions, but by those of others, and by the ever-changing world within us and around us. Otherwise, we might as well stay home, metaphorically or literally, so to speak, because congregations are about entering into this possibility of a kind of love that includes the transformative power of creative interchange with one another across differences, across experiences, and across perspectives to see what new truth and understanding might spark within each person. To our new members that we welcome you today, I want to say thank you for joining us. We are forever changed because you have joined us. We will get to know you and you will get to know us. You will see our strengths and our shortcomings. You will recognize the gaps between who we aspire to be and where we currently are. And that hopefully will stir within each of us newer and longer-term members as well, the desire for the possibilities that we hold in our collective heart. I will close briefly with these words from Unitarian Universalist minister Kenneth Patton. We arrive out of many singular rooms, walking over the branching streets. We come to be assured that siblings around us to restore their images on our eyes. We enlarge our voices in common speaking and singing. We try again that solitude found in the midst of those who with us seek their hidden reckonings. Our eyes reclaim the remembered faces. Their voices stir the surrounding air. The warmth of their hands assure us, and the gladness of our spoken names. This is the reason of cities, of homes, of assemblies in the houses of worship. It is good to be with one another. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Larry. As your sermon made clear, UU is a verb. It's a living faith. It's something we live out. UU is so much more than what it believes. It's a church of action. And one of my greatest prides in this church is all the activities, communities, opportunities we have to put our principles into action. From campus to manual dining hall dinners to Ilya, I feel like I learn more every time I come to church. Not long ago, someone was delivering a stewardship moment like this one, and not going to lie, I was half paying attention. When they suddenly said, "You, Dan," I was like, what did I do? I found out later they were talking about UUDAN, yet another of our many outlets for service and activism, Unitarian Universalists Delaware Action Network. We have this right here in our church, right here in our home, with so many others. Supporting all these organizations and living out our values takes time, it takes work, it takes attention, and yes, it takes resources. So we're going to have our stewardship moment, and there are many ways to give, both online and in person. The ushers will pass out baskets for your contribution, and other options will be displayed on the screen during the offertory music. Now please join me in dedicating our offering. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. We extinguish our chalice to these words, From the Richness of Our Differences, by Reverend Julianne Lepp. We seek our place in the world and the answers to our heart's deep questions. As we seek, may our hearts be open to unexpected answers. May we be reminded that all beings are whole, sacred, and worthy. Let our hearts be welcoming of multiple truths, not holding hard or fast to closed-mindedness or judgmental thinking. What can we learn from each other in the richness of our differences? May the heart of the compassion help us recognize the sacred in each other and bridge differences in these challenging times. May each of us be held in relationship, accountability, and the power of beloved community. Blessed be.
So before I offer the benediction, I want to make an announcement, first of all, that some keys were found in the parking lot. So check and see if you're missing your keys. And you can just find me, and I'll be glad to give them to you. And also, I want to invite Susan Chikala up. This is Chikala Sunday, I think. We'll make it official Chikala Sunday. And you have to use the, yeah.
My line. Good morning. I want to say welcome and congratulations to all the new members. We're so happy to have you. As Reverend Larry said, I'm Susan Chikala. It's a Chikala Family Sunday. I have served on the First Shoe Board of Trustees for 2 years as secretary. So on behalf of the board, I would like to invite you to our first Conversation with the Board event, to be held after the service next Sunday, January 19th. It's going to be from 12 to 1:15. This will be an opportunity for interested people to get to know the board members better as we discuss pertinent topics, concerns, mainly focused on the strategic plan, the goal of increasing income and financial sustainability. Please bring your questions. This is not a congregational meeting, but an informal discussion. We will be meeting here in the sanctuary, and we will have a microphone. Childcare will be provided, as well as snacks. This is an in-person meeting. We will not be broadcasting via Zoom. We would like to see good attendance and a fruitful discussion. Just show up. No RSVP is necessary. Thanks, and we hope to see you there.
Thank you, Susan. Speaking of snacks, I want to remind you that we're having a reception in the parish hall to honor our new members, get a chance to connect with one another then. For our benediction, I'd like for you to stand in body or spirit. And I'd like you to think about, see, Max, could you raise your hand? Just imagine that Max is the dividing line for that part of the sanctuary, so that those two areas face each other. And then this area face this group. And just repeat after me. From you I receive. From you I receive. To you I give. To you I give. Together we share. Together we share. And from this we live. And from this we live. Our closing hymn is 1028, Fire of Commitment. Please remain standing if you are able to, and join in singing. And I want to certainly thank Linda for her help with the music today, and also Richard.
From the bright of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living brings a being both brave and free, guiding pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment comes upon soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion call to us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic